It's such a pleasure to be standing before you. And I think Bernice went ahead of me to already introduce the topic that I'm going to cover today, AI. AI and IoT coexist, or I would say they are joined at the hip. And she mentioned something very critical about data being the fuel of AI. But the question is, where do we get this data from? And IoT sits at the core of generating all this data that we need to make many decisions and all the conversations around improving our customers' experience and improving our operational efficiency. Sorry. So, but what exactly is IoT? IoT, for the sake of the people who have not come across IoT, I'm sure some of you already have heard about IoT. But then let's just stop and think about IoT as a solution, as a means to an end. IoT stands for Internet of Things. And what this does is that it's an embodiment of technologies that is going to help us get an outcome. IoT is not a solution, is not a product, is not a device that you're going to get off a shelf. IoT is a combination of hardware, it's a combination of platform together with software, all together, embodying an embodiment of capability that is going to give you the so needed data that you need to generate the insights that you need, especially from the physical environment. Okay? So, if we are going to get data from our physical environment, then that means we can actually now get data from the assets. Assets are everything that are actually that we use as bankers, as everybody, to define someone's worth. When we report on the valuation of a company, we say their asset base is this much. When we are going to evaluate the worth of a customer vis-a-vis the amount of credit we want to give them, we base it on the kind of assets that they have, okay? So then IoT sits at a very central place where it gives us insight into these assets so that then the decisions we are making are informed decisions. Besides just asset tagging, the use case for IoT are so many. But today we are going to focus on asset tagging. Asset tagging in aspects of validating the collateral, for instance, for risk-based lending, that you are very aware about, you're well informed about the collateral that the customer is bringing upfront that can be used as a basis for lending. That you're tagging these assets in terms of having sensors that are giving you visibility during the credit period for which this customer is asking for financing. For instance, if you're going to help a customer with financing for some device, some equipment, you really want to have visibility of this equipment during that credit period. You do not want a customer disappearing on you with the asset. You have no information about where this asset is located, how it is being used. And therefore, IoT plays a very critical role in giving you visibility such that then you are well aware about the wellness of that asset. Also, it helps us to personalize experience. Now that we have visibility on the collateral that this customer is having, then we can customize the experience that we are offering to them. We are not going to be to throw in a blanket for instance, feedback or communication, yet we have a capability to actually personalize that experience. Also, IoT can help us to incentivize the customer in a way that now improves the offering we give to the customer for assets that have been held in good condition. Because if you've had visibility of an asset over a period of time, you're able to evaluate the welfare of that asset, and therefore even make the offering to the customer better by encouraging good behaviors on how to handle assets. And we can see that all these things are going to help us in rating the risk when we are offering some of the financial products to the customers. It is going to help us to avert risks. It's also going to help us to take appropriate action in case an asset is being mishandled way before it's actually we have run into a risk or a mishandling. And also it helps us to accurately evaluate the assets that have been presented as collateral, for instance. So I'm going to go through one of the use cases that is very common in IoT. And yesterday I had Moses talk about the bank, Absa Bank, taking cognizance of agriculture sitting at the core of the economy. And therefore, if agriculture is key that drives the economy in Kenya and many of the countries across Africa, then it helps that we understand how agriculture performs and not just a title deed as collateral. What if we were able to tell the value of even what is happening on that farm in such that then our credit offering is more expansive, is more inclusive. So some of the issues or pertinent issues we would consider when we are considering agriculture. Rather, I would want to just talk about agriculture and how IoT can give us visibility on the entire portfolio of agriculture, such that when you are using it as collateral, you are well aware about what is in it for you. The availability of data that is very consistent, because then IoT is offering you data, not post a risk or post the fact. IoT is offering you an ability to have access to accurate, consistent data on a real-time basis. And therefore, when you have real-time data, you're able to curate accurate, appropriate lending for the various customers that come on board. Also, the complexity that is experienced in all the relationship between the inputs that go into agriculture they complicate the risk prediction and quantification of what is in it from agriculture. So IoT sits at helping you create a correlation between all the inputs. At the end of the day, actually, it's AI at the bottom that actually helps to put this correlation, that you have collected data from various aspects, including inputs that is fertilizer, that is water, that is wellness of the soil, and putting all that together to actually have a clear visibility of the risk that you're dealing with. IoT also helps us to offer customers advisory services, such that in trying to help this customer, or rather to guard the asset that has been provided as collateral, you can continuously engage with the customer to help them take appropriate action when from your end you have observed that there are certain things that are not going well. IoT informs us about when when there's a disease that is looming, when, for instance, there's a portion of the farm that is short of, that is likely not to produce well, so that then you apply appropriate portions of fertilizer. It's able to make some predictive, to present with you some predictive information that you can you can use to help with the customer connection or customer engagement, such that then at the end of the day, you're safeguarding the asset that has been provided. Going further than just lending and using agriculture as collateral or the farm, we also have aspects that touch that is called the moral hazard. Moral hazard is where a customer would have provided this farm produce or their farm as collateral, but they go ahead just because there's some insurance that has been provided for that asset. They go unnecessarily exposing themselves to risks, because after all, they are going to they are safeguarded, or rather they have been protected. So if you have visibility on how this asset is being used, and then you're able to tell or foretell some of these aspects, such that then you're taking appropriate action at the moment and even in future when you're trying to cover that customer or lend to that customer. Going further, there's in trying also to just ensure that we are covering all the customers that are available to be given funding or to be given financing. IoT gives insight on how we have covered these customers. It's possible that the higher risk farmers will take up insurance, for instance, than the lower risk farmers. And what that results to is there's an imbalance on how we are going to treat these customers. But in the presence of data that have been provided over time, say for instance from the produce in the farm, you're able then to come up with very appropriate pools where you're covering, you're doing an inclusive lending. You're not leaving some customers or some farmers out, and only covering those that you're well aware about, or rather the ones that the higher risk farmers. But far and beyond that is post-harvest handling, that as much as we might have visibility on the goings of the farm, IoT also helps us protect collateral that could be produced from the farm. That is preservation of the produce while it is on transit, and also taking in consideration some of the changing harvesting times. That collateral can be held in a certain storage, or rather the produce can be held in storage long enough to offer the customer collateral in future, even when there's very shaky or very unpredictable weather patterns that have affected produce or agricultural productivity. So basically so I have just touched on one of the use cases, that is agriculture, as many banks embark on trying to support farmers. But there are many, many more use cases that banks can actually utilize in trying to have visibility of the collateral, which is also fleet monitoring. If a customer, for instance, has fleet, or you're trying to give, for instance, asset-based financing, that you have visibility of equipment that is being purchased, the wellness of that equipment throughout its credit period until the end of the credit period. But above all, I just would pose like a challenge to all of us that there's a lot more that can be done with IoT. And I call upon all of you to take advantage of the power that IoT can offer in improving our experience, in improving how we engage with our customer, and at the end of the day, how it improves operational efficiency in organization. Thank you.